not changing up the message, reparations, but to highlight the need for it on a national level. And I looked at a map, and God showed me that Baltimore was approximately 40 miles from D.C. And in fact, the park is actually 42.9 miles from the White House. And so it was moved upon my heart to start walking as a public witness and a public testimony to this nation as a reminder of the 40 acres and a mule, Sherman Field number 15, that this country has yet to fulfill. And it was divine that it was actually, 40 miles from Baltimore, and it was on the eve of my 40th birthday. Mm. And I began to walk October 12th of this past of 22, and I've been walking now. It was 21 times. It was 21 times this past Wednesday, and I've now walked over 912 miles on my feet. Actually, I did 20 times from Baltimore to the White House, and I did one time from Selma to Montgomery. That's actually 54 miles. Dr. King did it in 5 days. Until I did it, they had never had anybody do it in one 24-hour time span, and God blessed me to do it in 20 hours. And that about killed me.
Well, I'm glad you survived that. When we come forward, now that the audience understands the frame of who I'm talking to, so he is not speaking of talking. He's not just talking about reparations. That's why the book is called Creating a Culture of Repair, Taking Action on the Road to Reparations. You get the title now, but he is putting himself out there as a public witness doing these walks, and every time he does it, the media picks up on it. There's more and more media being generated, and as he walks, some people walk with him. People follow him, and they pay attention to him, and they follow him online, and it's really become a storyline as he continues, again, as a public witness to bring attention to this issue of reparations. I sit in California. The whole nation is watching California to see what we're going to do as the leader in this conversation about reparations and how we will define it and what the legislature will ultimately pass. But he's on the other side of the country, but nonetheless doing his part to raise this issue of reparations higher on the American agenda. We'll talk more about these 40/40 walks, his book. You heard him mention a moment ago, he was in Tulsa, and we saw that disappointing court decision days ago, but he was involved in helping staff, the lawyers, on that particular case. They lost the case, but we'll talk about his role in that. A great deal more to unpack as we're just getting started in this hour with our guest, the Reverend Dr. Robert Turner, who I'm pleased to have right now on Tavis Smiley.
Hope, agency, dignity. This is Tavis Smiley.
Can you dig it? Come on!
If you've not been feeling yourself lately, maybe now is the time to turn those weight loss nightmares into real weight loss dreams. And not just a dream that's been deferred, but something you can do right now. By starting to lose those 20 pounds you might have been chasing for the last 20 years, if you try something called D-Herbs. D-Herbs is a full-body cleanse. It's a natural cleansing regimen that can help you lose 20 pounds in just 20 days. The full-body cleanse will also boost your immune system and improve your digestion if you don't want to walk 40 miles from D.C. to Baltimore or from wherever you live to whatever is the closest town. Just try D-Herbs. Summer's here now, so you can stop chasing the 20-pound weight loss and propel yourself into a healthier lifestyle. To reboot your system and lose weight, go to dherbs.com right now, order your full body cleanse, or call 866-434-3727. If you mention Tavis, they'll give you a discount at checkout. dherbs.com. Experience healing.
Make a move into a home of your own. With City National Bank's Ladder Up Home Loan Grant, you could receive up to $20,000 that you never need to pay back. Use it toward your down payment, save on closing costs, or to buy down your mortgage rate. Find out more at cnb.com/ladderuphome. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Property must be in a qualifying market in California, New York, or New Jersey. Additional terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Terms are subject to change without notice. City National Bank is an equal housing lender. Member FDIC. NMLS number 536994.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Race, culture wars, political turf battles, criminal justice, and injustice. The courts. These are the conversations you won't hear elsewhere. My guests are leading journalists, celebrities, and sports figures, elected leaders, and influencers. They aren't afraid to get into it and say the quiet part out loud. With Areva Martin in real time, your commute just became the most engaging part of your day. Tune in weekdays from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. or find us on YouTube. Areva Martin in real time, when you want it straight, no chaser.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles is a nonprofit law firm that protects and advances the rights of the most underserved, leveling the playing field and ensuring that everyone can have access to the justice system. Every year, LAFLA provides free, high-quality legal services to more than 100,000 people living in poverty across greater Los Angeles. Their unique combination of neighborhood offices, self-help centers at courthouses, and domestic violence clinics puts Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles on the front lines in vulnerable communities and at the forefront of change. LAFLA's expert team of attorneys, paralegals, and support staff works to provide direct representation, offer counsel and advice, provide referrals, and educate the community about their legal rights through workshops and seminars. With locations all over LA, you can access their services or volunteer to help no matter where you live. And if you have an urgent issue, call 213-235-0060. That's 213-235-0060. To get legal help, make a donation, or volunteer, visit lafla.org. lafla.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
What does it take to take on Alzheimer's? Awareness that nearly 2/3 of those diagnosed are women, including Black women. Dedication to lowering your risk by eating healthy and monitoring blood pressure. And confidence to talk to your healthcare provider about screening and early detection. You have what it takes to take on Alzheimer's. Learn about signs and screening at takeonalz.com. Brought to you by the California Department of Public Health.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
Pardon the interruption. It's me, Tavis Smiley, here to remind you that we are now just days away from our historic Climate Justice Symposium live on C-SPAN this coming Tuesday, June 18th, 4 to 7 p.m. at the California Science Center. We are now pushing capacity. So if you plan to join us, stop procrastinating and get to KBLA1580.com right now and register. Attendance is free, but registration is mandatory. Black folk are flying into LA from all across the country to be in the room when we go live to the world with a stage full of Black brilliance on the eve of Juneteenth. And you live here, you better get to KBLA1580.com right now and claim your seat.
Sounds different, huh? This is Tavis Smiley. What's your quarrel with the world? You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Paid for by government.com. Did you know the United States Mint has issued a new...
Every day and every night we'll be together with the roof right over our heads. We'll share the shelter of my single bed. We'll share the same room, yeah. But just provide a bread. Is this love? Is this love? Is this love? Is this love that I'm feeling?
I'm Tavis Smiley. Glad to have you tuned in to our program in this hour. Our guest is the historian and pastor, Dr. Robert Turner of the Empowerment Temple AME Church in Baltimore, discussing in this hour his new book, Creating a Culture of Repair, Taking Action on the Road to Reparations. We'll talk in a moment here about the ruling and the Tulsa race massacre lawsuit where he used to live in Tulsa. And we've already started talking about, and we'll talk some more about these 40-40 walks from Baltimore to D.C. All right, Dr. Turner, let's jump back into this conversation. I think I want to start with Tulsa. We'll come back to the walks and the book, of course, as we move through this hour. I'm glad to have you for the hour. There's a whole lot to unpack, obviously. But you were in Tulsa, and it is my understanding that you were involved at some level in helping to make sure that Mother Viola Ford Fletcher and the two others at the time who were still living had legal representation in this case, trying to ultimately get their day in court. You should know that Mother Viola Ford Fletcher, who was the oldest living survivor of the Tulsa Race Massacre, now 110, was just on this program not long ago. She literally flew to L.A. and honored me by coming into this studio for a conversation. She was then 109, but turned 110 after she left. So I spent some really good time with her when she was here in Los Angeles and just fell in love with her. You of course know her from your time in Tulsa. But let me just start by asking what your role was in this case, and then get your temperature on, I assume, your disappointment with the way it all turned out.
Yeah, so first of all, she is a jewel of a lady. I had the good pleasure of meeting her while I was in Tulsa. And speaking of honor, can I just tell you how much of an honor it is for me to be on your radio show? I used to watch your State of the Black World every year. And as a teenager, the impact of the convening and the gathering of thought leaders of the black community in one space at one time, I mean, that still has a sizable and significant impact on my life. So I just want to say, man to man, what I am is in large tribute to you and what you did, what you've done for us, and what you still do on a regular basis for our people. So I want to salute you for that.
You were kind. I deeply appreciate that. I mean, it means a lot. My mama's listening, so it means even more to her. So thank you for those kind words. Those kind words. I deeply appreciate it, sir.
And so a part of what I do now is trying to embody the ideas and suggestions mentioned on venues such as State of the Black World. So I was as pastor of Vernon at Emmy Church in Tulsa, Oklahoma, I immediately tried to engulf myself in the history of Tulsa and the history of the church. I already knew about the massacre at the time. They called it a riot. But I did not know the intimate relationship of the church to what happened during the massacre till I researched and talked to some of the church members. And I found out that the basement that we have is actually predated the massacre, and it survived the massacre, right? And one of my oldest members told me that people during the massacre hid in the basement of Vernon Avenue Church. And I've been on several documentaries sharing that story and telling that story, giving tours to everybody from presidential candidates. You name it, they've been through there. But also while I was there, I started to be an activist in the public square every week, going out to City Hall, demanding that the city pay reparations, and also demanding from the mayor that they do mass grave excavations, because they just dump bodies in mass graves. But also, in addition to that, God put it on my heart, because Vernon did not file in the original lawsuit that was led by Professor Ogletree and Johnny Cochran and others. So we still had legal standing. And that lawsuit, of course, unfortunately did not go well either. So I reached out to the attorney that represented us, but Vernon was the original plaintiff. And as pastor, I led the church into that lawsuit because I knew the devastation that occurred during the massacre and how our insurance company didn't pay us one single penny from it. And so the lawsuit began because I reached out to the attorney to represent us. And from him starting to represent us, he also reached out and we found that there were other survivors of the massacre who were still living. And that's how Leslie Benefield, Randall, and that's how Mother Fletcher got in contact and signed up with the lawsuit.
What then do you make of the way this lawsuit turned out? I reported the news on this program days ago that the Oklahoma Supreme Court had basically refused to overrule a lower court that had already thrown the case out. So that was the end of the road for Mother Viola Ford Fletcher and Ms. Benningfield, who you mentioned a moment ago. that's the end of the road for them because the Oklahoma Supreme Court, the highest court in the state, is not going to take up the case, which raises for me the obvious question. What do you make? I'll come back to riot versus massacre in a moment. I'm glad you raised it. I talked to Miss Mother Fletcher about that when she was in the studio, about why we shouldn't call it a riot. We should call it a massacre. I'll get your take on that language, as it were, in a moment. But what do you make of the recalcitrance of the state of Oklahoma in this regard?
I think the state of Oklahoma, while it is sad what they did in the ruling, unfortunately, it's not even surprising. I mean, this is the state that tried to hide the massacre for over 100 years, nearly 100 years, and whose National Guard watched the bodies be dumped. It continues to show that the state of Oklahoma is not unlike the U.S., who has refused to atone for the worst atrocities inflicted upon American citizens in the history of this country.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so I hate it for Mother Randall and Mother Fletcher because they definitely deserve it. I hate it for the descendants of those who suffered. But I was not surprised. I was hoping. Even when I filed the lawsuit, I knew, and I told Attorney Simmons, we knew it was going to be a hard-fought battle. But this state, the city of Tulsa, in fact, also has shown a willingness to, and it's a red state, so they quote unquote believe in the Bible and all that type of stuff. Mm-hmm. But they've shown an unwillingness to actually do the works that Jesus teaches us to do in the Bible. Mm. But they will have their own reckoning. I believe in that. I know that for a fact. They will be judged. And then it's my job to make sure they know that as a minister of the gospel. And I hope that they know that. But I hate it for those survivors. I hate it so very much because and as Americans, we believe in our justice system. We really do. And it is sad when you can almost predict when it won't work, even though we as blacks have tried to always hope against what we have seen from our own eyes.
Yeah.
We believe in a system that has never worked for us, and we continuously try to believe in that same system.
Yeah, it is one thing. I was saying to somebody the other day, Dr. Turner, it is one thing to lose your case in court. It's another thing to never have a day in court. And that's what this Oklahoma Supreme Court has denied Mother Randall and Mother Fletcher, the last two remaining survivors, 110, 109. They've been denied their day in court, and because, again, it is the highest court in the state of Oklahoma, that is the end of the road for them. And so they have survived all these years, but will never have a moment where they can make their case for recompense, given what they and so many others, obviously, who have perished, endured on that fateful night in Oklahoma. To this, back to this language now, because I believe that words matter, the language matters. And again, Mother Fletcher and I had this conversation when she was in the studio here a few months ago about why we shouldn't call it a riot, but call it what it is. It was a race massacre. I note that you went right to that. Tell me why that distinction in language is so important for you.
It's very important. When I went to Tulsa in 2017, April 26, 2017, to Pastor Vernon, the word that was used was riot. And a part of my public advocacy and others also, we felt the word should be changed from riot to massacre and really attempted genocide. I mean, in 18 hours, in less than 18 hours, matter of fact, 10,000 people were made homeless. In less than 18 hours, over 600 black-owned businesses were destroyed. In less than 18 hours, 1,256 homes were destroyed. In less than 18 hours. Not at 9/11, not at Pearl Harbor, 1941, but in 1921, for the first time in American history, airplanes were used to drop bombs on Americans. Not 2001, September 11th, not 1941, but in 1921. And the first victims of it were black people, and the first perpetrators were white folks. And they indiscriminately killed, maimed, kidnapped black people and left them homeless homeless. They were attempting to kill everybody. So that was not a riot. A riot depicts, two sides fighting. But that quickly fizzled out, especially once they started to bring in the airplanes that were owned in large part by Sinclair Oil, according to the 1921 Coastal Race Massacre Commission report that was done while Professor Ogletree was in the lawsuit. They did a report, and they said that the airplanes that were owned by Sinclair Oil. Sinclair Oil still exists today, and they have never been held to account for what they did. The fire department that didn't put out not one fire still exists today. The city of Tulsa that allowed this still exists today. The police department that didn't make not one investigation or one arrest still exists today. And in fact, when I was there, we found out they had evidence from the massacre, and I demanded from the police chief that they release that evidence, and they told me, well, they looked for it, now they can't find it. So all this convenient losing of evidence, and now the Supreme Court saying that they will not have a day in court. Too late, too tough, sorry. And that's what we're supposed to live with. It's not acceptable.
It is not acceptable, and yet not only has Mother Fletcher, Mother Randall lived with it, sadly, they will die at some point. We all have to do that dance with mortality. We'd be blessed to get to 109 or 110, but it's tragic that they will never have their day in court, given what happened that night in this Tulsa Race Massacre, given the recent decision of the Supreme Court in the state of Oklahoma. His book is called Creating a Culture of Repair, Taking Action on the Road to Reparations. He's a historian and pastor, Dr. Robert Turner. More with him when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
What's your quarrel with the world? You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Paid for by government.com. Did you know the United States Mint has issued a new Morgan silver dollar coin in proof condition for the first time? Not only that, they are also minted in 99.9% pure silver for the first time ever in history. Coin experts are calling this an amazing opportunity for anyone that knows the enduring popularity of Morgans. But you must hurry. Only 400,000 of these legal tender silver dollars were issued. These first ever Morgan silver dollars are brand new with stunning mirror-like finish, minted by the iconic San Francisco Mint. Call now and you're guaranteed a new first ever 99.9% pure silver proof Morgan dollar. To learn more, call 1-800-973-9717. If you order now, you will receive a free coin collector bonus pack, a $25 value, free with every order. Call 1-800-973-9717 now to secure your new Morgan silver dollars before they are gone. That's 1-800-973-9717.
I'm Amber Payton. Here's the latest on the Black Information Network. Senator Tim Scott is defending former President Trump's comments during meetings with congressional Republicans. Appearing on ABC's This Week, the South Carolina Republican wouldn't say whether he supported Trump's idea of eliminating income tax and making up for it with increased tariffs, but said Trump's priority remains helping the working class. Scott, who is black, said although he supports free trade, tariffs would be effective at leveling the playing field between the U.S. and China. He accused China of engaging in unfair business practices and, quote, lying, cheating, and stealing our intellectual property, end quote. Hunter Biden is withdrawing an appeal of his gun conviction shortly after it was filed. The president's son uploaded the appeal in a Delaware federal court, then quickly withdrew it. Biden's lawyers are not saying why they took these actions. Hunter was found guilty for unlawfully purchasing a gun while addicted to drugs. He faces up to 25 years in prison. That's the latest. I'm Amber Payton on your home for 24/7 News, the Black Information Network.
Travel safe and enjoy the rest of your night. Over in Sherman Oaks, a crash remains on the carpool lane of the 405 North at Burbank Boulevard with a 25-minute delay, still running heavy from Wilshire Boulevard. Good news at Montebello 60 West before San Gabriel Boulevard. Accident's been cleared with a slight slowdown in recovery from Santa Anita Avenue. Traffic remains heavy over in West LA, over 15 minutes on the 10 East between the 405 and San Pedro Street. In Baldwin Park on the 10 East before the 605, expect a 20-minute slowdown from City Terrace Drive, Herbert Avenue split as a crashes on the right shoulder.
Is this the This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
I'm a bad man.
As difficult as it is for Lakers Nation to hear this, there is no way to get around it. The Boston Celtics are the new NBA champions, and they stand alone as the franchise with the most NBA titles all time. Before this year's NBA Finals, the Celtics and Lakers each had 17 championships. The Celtics now have an NBA record 18 titles after beating the Dallas Mavericks in 5 games. It was the Celtics' first championship since beating the Lakers in 2008. Former Cal Berkeley star Jaylen Brown was voted Finals MVP. The 7-year Celtics veteran averaged 20.8 points, 5.4 rebounds, and 5 assists in the Finals. Brown had 21 points last night. Celtics forward Jason Tatum had a game-high 31 points and 11 assists. Brown and Tatum are perhaps the best tandem in the NBA, and last night they played like champions. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles is a nonprofit law firm that protects and advances the rights of the most underserved, leveling the playing field and ensuring that everyone can have access to the justice system. Every year, LAFLA provides free, high-quality legal services to more than 100,000 people living in poverty across greater Los Angeles. Their unique combination of neighborhood offices, self-help centers at courthouses, and domestic violence clinics puts Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles on the front lines in vulnerable communities and at the forefront of change. LAFLA's expert team of attorneys, paralegals, and support staff works to provide direct representation, offer counsel and advice, provide referrals, and educate the community about their legal rights through workshops and seminars. With locations all over LA, you can access their services or volunteer to help no matter where you live. And if you have an urgent issue, call 213-235-0060. That's 213-235-0060. To get legal help, make a donation, or volunteer, visit lafla.org. lafla.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Ray Richardson, your sports connection here at KBLA Talk 1580. Join me and my co-host Neil Scarborough every Saturday night at 7 for Out of Bounds, the show that brings some flavor to the world of sports for 60 minutes. We take you beyond the scores and press conferences. We give you our point of view, the way black folks see what's going down. You can join the conversation and give us your analysis at 1-800-920-1580. Out of Bounds every Saturday night at 7 on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
You like the style, though.
Climate justice, climate equity, climate resilience. By any other name, we demand environmental justice in 2024 and beyond. We're KBLA Talk 1580, and we don't black down.
Need to hire? You need Indeed. Their all-in-one platform helps you attract, interview, and hire candidates all from one place. And Indeed's interview tool lets you schedule and conduct virtual interviews right from their website. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
Ready to re-examine your assumptions and expand your inventory of ideas? More of Tavis Smiley coming your way right now.
Best of Bob Marley on our program today as we continue to celebrate June, Black Music Month. Can't move through the entire month without a little reggae. So today it's Bob Marley, all 3 hours of our program. We continue our conversation with historian and pastor Dr. Robert Turner of Empowerment Temple AME in Baltimore about his new book, Creating a Culture of Repair, Taking Action on the Road to Reparations, and these 40/40 walks that he has been engaging monthly from Baltimore to D.C. I want to return, I should say, to those walks now. Tell me more about these walks expressly, what you do, how folk are responding to them. As I mentioned earlier, they're gaining more and more media attention and focus, and you want that focus, of course, on the issue of reparations. But tell me more about these walks, Dr. Turner.
So the walks are an opportunity for anyone who believes in the urgency of reparation, particularly H.R. 40, authored by a friend in Congress who we're praying for her right now. And we're hoping that President Biden would do what no other president has ever done, and that is make an executive order for H.R. 40. It is past time. We've never had a president, and presidents that we've loved and presidents we supported, we've never had a president. All of them, well, not all, we hope most of them hated slavery, but none of them have sought to ever give any repair for it. We hope that they hated Jim Crow, but none of them have ever sought to give repair. We hope that they hated mass incarceration, redlining, and segregation, and unfair housing treatment. We hope they hated that. And they've given several resolutions and apologies for several different things, but none of them have ever signed an executive order for there to be repair given, or even a repair study bill, which is what H.R. 40 is. John Conyers tried for years in the House to just get a study bill passed, and he could hardly get a second in the House. And I mean, I'm talking about Democrats too. And now it is a remedy study bill, and we've had it presented, but it has not been called to the floor for a vote. And now, with the situation how it is in Congress, we doubt that ever will be done. But at the very least, the president, we're hoping on Juneteenth, not to wax eloquent with speeches, but to actually do something. We have a governor here in Maryland. He's not waxing with speeches. He's actually doing something. He just signed an executive order to pardon 175 people who've been convicted of marijuana possession.
175,000 people.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Westmore, great job.
Yeah.
So that's what I would like to see being done on Juneteenth. Presidents and governors doing things that actually can help alleviate suffering for black people. Reparations chief among them. So during the walk, and people who can walk the whole way do it. People who can only walk part of the way do it. But during the walk, I also have a wreath of 400 roses that I carry and lay at the gate of the White House. And those 400 roses are symbolic, and they're dyed black, and those roses are symbolic of the 400 years of oppression that black people have had to endure in these divided states of America. And I lay them there, and I pray, I read the scripture, and I get a ride back, and I plan to go every month until repair is given, similar to the practice of Joshua in the Bible in the Hebrew text, who walked around the walls of Jericho until they came tumbling down. And if God sees it to be my destiny to walk from Baltimore to the White House until these walls against justice, to these walls against white supremacy, come tumbling down.
I'm not naive in asking this, but every poll, every study, every survey that I've read suggests that there is, in fact, in real time, a changing of attitudes about reparations. There are all kinds of questions about how we define it, and people ain't ready to write no checks. Not here in California, certainly, according to the data. but that Americans' attitudes across the board have changed when it comes to this conversation. They understand better now what our community, what this community has endured. And yet politically, it remains a toxic issue. People don't want to affix their signature, their name to it. We shall see if Joe Biden makes that move. I wouldn't hold my breath, but who knows? But what's your read on why the issue politically is still so toxic?
Because America's, for two reasons, actually, I believe. America has a problem doing right by black people. And it's like she's allergic to it. She can be the most benevolent nation to other people in the world. If, God forbid, if there was a tsunami that hit a country right now, America will rush and send airplane loads of bottled water and food by the pound, by the hundreds of pounds, these places. If there were an attack against, especially a European nation, as is the case with Ukraine, America will send, and Congress will pass billions of dollars to support, and they will show us pictures of people in Ukraine and the suffering they're dealing with and all of this type of stuff, and that's so heart-wrenching and sad. The problem, though, is America has, I wouldn't even say become desensitized. I would say, because that would mean at one time you were sensitive to it. America is just callous toward black suffering. And not just American black suffering, but even black suffering Congo, in the Sudan, in Rwanda. White America is callous toward our suffering. And so, they don't feel that we even deserve reparations because they think it's a privilege for us to even be in this country. So, in fact, some of them actually think we owe them for allowing us to still be here.
Yeah.
You know, we ought to thank them for kidnapping us. That's the premise of white supremacy. They think that their ways and their culture and their land is better. And in fact, it's not even their land to begin with. But secondly, a reason. So the first reason is America is callous toward black people and black suffering. And the second is the reason why America has not done it is because reparations is not the number one issue for black folks. It's just not. It has to be our, not just number one, but our number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. If we cannot expect white America to take us serious if we don't take us serious.
Let me cut in there. For a second. When we come forward, I want to probe that a little bit further about why reparations is not issue number one for African Americans. Our guest is historian and pastor, Dr. Robert Turner of these 4040 Walks fame from Baltimore to D.C. He's the pastor of the Empowerment Temple AME Church in Baltimore and author of the book, Creating a Culture of Repair, Taking Action on the Road to Reparations. He's our guest right now, and I'm glad about it, on Tavis Smiley.
Interrogating and unpacking.
That's what we do around here.
You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
We asked seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month.
If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
Pardon the interruption. It's me, Tavis Smiley, here to remind you that we are now just days away from our historic Climate Justice Symposium live on C-SPAN this coming Tuesday, June 18th, 4 to 7 p.m. at the California Science Center. We are now pushing capacity. So if you plan to join us, stop procrastinating and get to KBLA1580.com right now and register. Attendance is free, but registration is mandatory. Black folk are flying into LA from all across the country to be in the room when we go live to the world with a stage full of black brilliance on the eve of Juneteenth. And you live here, you better get to KBLA1580.com right now and claim your seat.
KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. Stay Housed LA has the resources you need to know your rights and the legal support to back them up. The COVID-19 pandemic has cost people their jobs and livelihoods. This has left an estimated 1/3 of households not being able to make rent and facing losing their homes. This is a fear no one in our community should have to face. You have rights, though, and Stay Housed LA is here to help. Stay Housed LA is a partnership between the County of Los Angeles, the City of Los Angeles, and local community and legal service providers. Together, they provide tenants with the information and support needed to exercise their rights so they can remain safely in their homes. Find out more about your rights by participating in a virtual tenant workshop. Get the legal assistance you need. Find additional resources in Los Angeles County and the City of Los Angeles. Stay connected to Stay Housed LA County for updates. This and more at stayhousedla.org. Stay connected to Stay Housed LA for updates. This and more at stayhousedla.org. That's stayhousedla.org. Or call their hotline at 213-694-0040. We've got your black with a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
When you're young, life is full of choices. Don't let opioids like highly addictive and deadly fentanyl take away your life with just one wrong pill. Addiction is a disease that can affect anyone at any age. But there is a choice to get help for this disease. Find medically proven treatment options, including virtual, at choosemat.org.
Who do you trust to get at the truth?
Tavis Smiley.
That's who. The conversation continues right now.
Black folk are not monolithic, nor should we be. And yet, our guest, Dr. Robert Turner, has made the point that reparations is not the number one issue for black people writ large, not issue number one across the board. Why do you think that is, and what do you make of that reality, Dr. Turner?
I believe that the reason that is because a lot of black people have bought into white supremacy also. We don't think that our suffering oftentimes is worth atoning for, unfortunately. And we even can prioritize the needs of other communities far and above our own. And so we have to really, as El Haj Malik Shabazz, also known as Malcolm X, would say, as we have freed ourselves from the physical shackles of enslavement, we must also free ourselves from the mental shackles of slavery. And a part of that is this nation instilling into us white supremacist views such as black people don't deserve to be treated fully human. And a part of being treated as fully human means that when you suffer, when you are harmed, that you are also repaired. And that is not even a question for anybody else, but it seems to be a question for us. And so I don't care what your political persuasion is, if you are black in this nation, you either came here from ancestors who descended from slaves, or if they came after slavery, they suffered through the black codes, or if they came after that, they suffered through Jim Crow, or if they came after that, they suffered through redlining, or after that, they suffered through mass incarceration, or if it's after that, They suffered through police brutality. Whatever generation you've come to this country as a black person, you have suffered at the hands of white supremacy.
Yeah.
And so this reparations to the university is.
Yeah, I have said, beautifully done, by the way, beautifully done. I've said many times that it is my view that black people, for better or for worse, are the most forgiving people on the planet. For better or for worse, we are the most forgiving people on the planet. I want to get Dr. Turner's read on that and what he makes of that reality as I see it. And we'll talk for a few minutes about his book, Creating a Culture of Repair, Taking Action on the Road to Reparations, in our remaining moments with him when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
For all the freedom-loving folk, this is Tavis Smiley.
I feel like freedom.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
You know where you want to go in life, and City National Bank can help. City National knows the dedication it takes to build your vision for the future into a reality, and our team is here for you. We have a wide range of options to help, from personal savings accounts to interest-bearing money market savings accounts and more, all designed to help you get where you want to go. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Learn more at cnb.com. City National Bank is a subsidiary of Royal Bank of Canada, member FDIC.
KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles is a nonprofit law firm that protects and advances the rights of the most underserved, leveling the playing field and ensuring that everyone can have access to the justice system. Every year, LAFLA provides free, high-quality legal services to more than 100,000 people living in poverty across greater Los Angeles. Their unique combination of neighborhood offices, self-help centers at courthouses, and domestic violence clinics puts Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles on the front lines in vulnerable communities and at the forefront of change. LAFLA's expert team of attorneys, paralegals, and support staff works to provide direct representation, offer counsel and advice, provide referrals, and educate the community about their legal rights through workshops and seminars. With locations all over LA, you can access their services or volunteer to help no matter where you live. And if you have an urgent issue, call 213-235-0060. That's 213-235-0060. To get legal help, make a donation, or volunteer, visit lafla.org. lafla.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
You're gonna feel a puff of air.
Jong's Optometry has set their sights on staffing up.
Try the next line. Hey, Kim, can you tell our 2 o'clock we're running 15 behind? Sorry, we're a bit backed up today.
He needs an optometric technician to keep an eye on it all.
Where are the dilation drops?
Indeed can help him hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. You can schedule and conduct virtual interviews all from your employer dashboard. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Smart talk for curious people just like you. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and historian and pastor Dr. Robert Turner. I've got about 3.5 minutes here left, and I want to do 3 things. One, I want to close by letting him share with you his social media accounts, so you can follow him and perhaps walk with him if you're on the East Coast, listening to us right about now. I want to give him a chance to say a quick word about his book, and I want to start by asking him his thoughts on what it means that black folk are so forgiving, as tied into your notion that we don't even think that our pain, that our suffering deserves to be remedied.
Well, yes, we are very forgiving, and I think a lot of that is tied to our faith and our relationship with God. But even the God that I serve, he forgives us for our sins, but there had to be a payment for it. In Christians, we believe that was the blood of Jesus the Christ. Mm-hmm. So we can forgive people in this nation, but there still has to be a payment for what they have done to us. We can forgive all, and I support forgiving. That's not just for the person who did it, that's for yourself. But you also should require that there be some payment given for the harm caused.
Say a word about the book, Creating a Culture of Repair, Taking Action on the Road to Reparations.
It's available everywhere books are sold, on Amazon or your local Barnes & Noble store. It is the longest list of reparatory ideas done by an individual in the world. It lists things and it breaks it down into 4 categories: things individuals can do who are tired of waiting on their government, things societies can do, things nonprofits can do, things corporations can do, and things that institutions like our government, our national, our state, our local, even county governments can do to get repair. And lastly, it speaks to things that spiritually can be done, that the faith community can do. Because we have to be honest about the role that faith played, especially Christianity played, in upholding white supremacy. George Stinney, was the anniversary of his killing was this past Sunday, and the brother was the youngest ever by the electric chair, and they set him, because he was so small, they set him on the Bible as they electrocuted him. So there's a strong role that faith played in sustaining, in some places, they actually in creating white supremacy. So those 4 areas all mentioned in the book.
It's called Creating a Culture of Repair, Taking Action on the Road to Reparations, wherever fine books are sold. And finally, for those who want to follow all that you are doing, particularly and especially these 40/40 walks from Baltimore to D.C., give me your social media accounts.
My Instagram is Rev Dr. REVDR Robert Turner. My website is robertturnerministries.net, but I post more regularly on my Instagram and Facebook page about the walk. If there's anybody who is interested, please feel free to DM me and I'll connect you to my team and we'll take care of you.
His name is Dr. Robert Turner, historian and pastor of Empowerment Temple AME in Baltimore. The book, once again, is called Creating a Culture of Repair, Taking Action on the Road to Reparations. I love and respect those who assign themselves to love and serve our people by taking action in moments and in times like these. And so I celebrate these walks that you're doing, Dr. Turner, and all the attention they are raising around this issue of reparations. Thank you for your work and witness. An honor to have you on this program, sir. All the best to you.
Thank you so much, brother.
Good to have you on this program. Don't forget tonight, this historic Climate Justice Symposium on C-SPAN, 7 Eastern, 6 Central, 4 p.m. Pacific. Until then, thanks for listening to Tavis Smiley, and as always, keep the faith.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Former USC linebacker Abdul Malik McClain has pleaded guilty to 1 federal count of mail fraud. The African-American former college player, now 24 years old, orchestrated a scheme to illegally receive more than $1 million in COVID-related unemployment benefits. He was able to get more than $280,000. He was arrested in 2021. He faces up to